Rob, welcome.
Thank you.
This is our first podcast. We're at CrossFit Silverbeard, and I think this is an opportunity for us to get to know you, for our members to get to know each other, and basically talk about all the things that are important to you, and to talk about everything within the community. And I think we should just have a nice conversation.
I like the sound of that. I'm Mr. Average, so this could be very interesting indeed.
Absolutely, that's the best way, mate. CrossFit lives on average, so that's the way. So we're going to talk about, initially, let's talk about CrossFit. How did you come into CrossFit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been into my fitness probably for about 5 or 6 years. Prior to that, I used to play a lot of football, and that was my thing. Had a bad injury at football that put me out for a number of months. Decided, or had a decision to make on whether I wanted to carry on playing or not, and just thought that was it, really. Didn't want to risk it. And I knew I needed to do something for my physical health. So started getting interested in just going to the gym, tried some standard gyms, tried some boxes that, not this one. And I found it really difficult to fit it in with my work-life balance. This turned up on Facebook as a new opportunity gym, and I absolutely snapped it. It was like perfect for me. It's 5-10 minutes down the road. And it's absolutely the right thing. So I started from day one, came in, saw you guys.
You were literally our first member.
Absolutely.
First one through the door, literally had a conversation, and I think if we'd have been able to, we'd have signed you up there. I think
I'd have done a workout on that moment I walked in. I genuinely was so pumped. And I think the key thing as well is I already knew I was going to join, but coming to meet you and Alex and absolutely just seeing that kind of community vibe, the family, you had your kids there, got to meet the whole lot, and it just made me think, this is a good vibe. I need to get into this.
Brilliant.
And fully committed. So that's where I
have been from. Ever since.
That was 7th of September, I think you opened.
6th of September.
6th of September.
6th of September.
So I'm 237 sessions down on Back to the Whiteboard.
Not that you're keeping count.
Not that I'm keeping count, and you'll get more of that later on, because
absolutely
my role at work, I'm a business analyst, so absolutely focused on numbers, and I love analysing all of the stuff that's on there.
Which is interesting. So I used to be a really big numbers person. So with CrossFit, I love, because there's almost a nice association with being recordable. That's part of what CrossFit is. Obviously, lots of people, when they go to the regular gyms, you've got 12-week programs, you've got Les Mills and things like that, which are all great. They all serve their purpose within that sort of fitness circle. But when it comes to CrossFit, it's recordable, repeatable, observable. We can all look at it and go, well, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And I know that you like that sort of stuff. You like being able to go, right, we look at the workout, and I know that there's a workout on the board that we've done this morning. Yeah. And even this morning, almost instantly, when we finished that workout, you're already analysing it, where you could have improved, what you could have done this, what you could have done that.
100%.
Do you think that adds to what CrossFit has to offer?
I think for me it does, and that, again, it fits with my personality, so I'm able to challenge myself, and I think a key bit to this, and it's been from day one, and it's a sort of mantra that you've put through as we've been in classes, and that leave the ego at the door. This isn't about challenging against all the other CrossFit members. It's great to have a little bit of banter and stuff, but really this was all about how do I improve myself, and being able to capture what I've been able to achieve. And I've got, it's, for me, there's situations where some days I'm never going to be perfect. I may have a bad day and it might not get to where I want to get, but I can appreciate that, and I can adjust it and scale so that at least I know I'm still getting a good workout. And I think that the numbers help me, because I can then start to see the progression. And the progression is important, but it's also just about staying fit and healthy.
100%, absolutely. So talking about adversity, those that know you will know that you have lupus, and that is a very serious thing, and I don't think a lot of people know about it. So if you could you tell us what it is and what you have to go through? I know you're on medications. If you want to share anything like that, feel free.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So lupus, I'd never heard of it before I got diagnosed. Birth of my first child, so 8 years ago, had a rough sleep pattern. She didn't go to bed well. I probably lived off 2 years of about 3 or 4 hours sleep. And I just felt tired all the time. In the end, ended up going to the hospital, having some tests. They told me I had lupus, gave me a leaflet. I was like, what is it? I don't know what it is. So it's an autoimmune condition. It affects your skin, joints, kidneys, other organs. There's lots of associated illnesses alongside it. It fits kind of in the arthritic family as well. And
so you're dealing with inflammation and markers within. So you have joint pain, discomfort. So with looking at that, so because I know that some people go, oh, well, if he's got joint pain, surely doing something like CrossFit would make it worse, right? So I'm gonna ask you that question: does it make it worse?
I don't believe it does. So some days it might do if I'm pushing myself or if I'm having a bad day. And I think we're quite open when I come in. If I'm having a bad day, normally we talk about it. I'll scale back and it's not so bad. And then some days I'll just feel fine and I'll push myself a bit further. So personally, I don't see it as an impact to me. I see it as a benefit. When I go for my checkups, annual checkups at the hospital, they ask me if I do fitness, what aches, what all of that stuff. So from my perspective, I think it's a good thing, because it's easy to just sit on the sofa. Some days I'm wiped and I can sit on the sofa and I wouldn't have to get up and that would be fine. So this keeps me moving.
Do you find that inactivity would make the symptoms
makes
worse?
It worse? Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's quite funny. So I had every intention of coming in Saturday and Sunday this week. I'd done Monday to Friday, had a little bit of a flare up, decided to rest for the weekend. By Sunday afternoon I was just feeling so tired and lethargic, and that wouldn't normally be me. So I think I have to accept that and accept that I'm never going to be an elite athlete. That's not what it's about. But for me, it's about managing my condition, managing my body, knowing the signs, and then being able to address that in the workouts. Which hopefully I come in with a fairly positive attitude.
Absolutely.
And, Absolutely.
And I think as well that honesty that we have between us, and that I have as a coach with nearly everybody that comes in, and Alex the same, Ellie the same as coaches. We are kind of almost have to understand what nearly every person that walks in, and often you'll see us kind of go through the list, and as we go through the list, kind of look around the room, and not only we're looking and checking who's in the room, we're looking and we're going, right, okay, so I know that person's got a little bit of a niggly shoulder, I know that person's got a dodgy knee, some of us, and often when we talk about injuries, like you said, before, you have had injuries from football, and those carry around with you for years and years and years. And then suddenly when we start doing CrossFit, people go, oh, did you hurt yourself doing CrossFit? It's like, well, no, actually, I didn't. I did this playing rugby, I did this playing football. We've got members who have played rugby and their knees are, in all cases, should need repairing. But actually, because they do CrossFit, their knees are actually really strong, or the musculature around them is really strong, and they're able to do all these great things, like go out with their families, play other sports, still run around, still do all these cool things. And I think, this is such a great thing. It just kind of almost that. But
you touch on, for me, so you touched on the fact that, you're aware as a coach for each individual, and we rarely feel that. That's everyone that comes to this. You could ask all of them. But I think you've got the level of what you do there is, you, Alex, I get messages if I haven't been in for a day or two. Is everything okay? Just checking in. Or you might ping me after a particular workout where you've seen I've struggled. Make sure you do some stretches, all that kind of stuff. And I think that goes a long way, particularly around that community vibe in the box. Like, you don't get that from a standard gym. You don't get that from, even a PT. From my experience, it's a personal thing that's not just about the fitness. It's about you as a person, which I think is really cool.
I think as well you have to think about, like what we think about when, and I suppose mental state comes into this. And I'm very careful not to use tag words. So although community is a massive thing here, community is a thing. With other places, often they use community as a tag word. Come and join this community, we're serving the community with this, with that. Our community is obvious. when you come in on a Saturday and a Sunday and there's 20 to 30 people in the room, all doing the same thing, all suffering because you do, through the workout, and then everybody stops what they're doing, everybody agrees that the workout sucked, but actually it was really good. And, you know, some of us have spent a little bit of time outside, adding to the gravel, you know, and then we'll come in and talk about it, drink coffee, and then we'll say, we'll see you tomorrow. And that is, you could call it a community as much as you want it to, but it is a community when you don't have to call it something. It just is, right?
Absolutely. And I think the other thing is, like, if I look at, you know, my whole family attends this
they do
box.
yes,
you know,
absolutely.
I've even persuaded my wife to join, even though she does other things, but you know, I've got 2 kids, 12 and 8, that come to this and they absolutely love it. And that's what I mean by community. They're welcome, they come in. It started off a little bit like, I'm not sure, but they both just excelling already. And it's like, for me, being able to see them do something that's going to help them from a physical perspective, from a discipline perspective as well. I think that's really key. So I think there's more to it than just as an individual joining a community. It is family, and that's the word I'd use. Yeah,
I agree, 100%. Yeah, I mean, again, people band around that kind of, you know, a group of people. So date-wise, obviously the Euro final was yesterday, and I sat in this box with the TV that I brought from my house, and we sat in here with about 10 other people who didn't want to go to a pub and didn't want to be at home on their own. And one of the members said, can you put the football on here? And I was like, absolutely, that's a great idea. As a big guy, actually, I didn't think of it myself, but yeah. So Jess, well done. She said, you know, can you? My other half, he wants to go to the tavern. I don't want to because I don't want to get covered in beer. And for some people, that's not a thing. And her first port of call was here. And I thought that was amazing. The fact that she asked us was brilliant. So we were like, yeah, of course. So we got pizza in. You know, we said bring a drink if you want to. And actually, most people sat with a cup of tea, or you know, or maybe a glass of wine, and sat and watched the football. And it wasn't all kind of singing, dancing. It was all kind of very, if they win, it's great. If they don't, it don't. But actually, it was because we were all together, and it was a really lovely environment. And I have to be honest, it was one of the really pleasant moments of, I did that thing. I sometimes do a thing where I sit and I look. I don't say anything. I just look around the room, and I have this great big smile on my face. And I caught Alex's eyes, and she looked at me and she went, "Are you having a moment?" And I was like,
I'm going to be controversial here. I didn't even watch the second half. I sat and watched the film with my daughter.
Mate, this is it though. Yeah, but you chose a golden moment with your daughter, and I think nearly everybody who's watching was like, if you wanted to watch England lose, or you'd want to spend time with a family member, they know which one they'd want to choose. So yeah, I was very fortunate that I was with my family. The boys were here, Alex was here, and yeah, you know, we got to sit and watch and have a conversation and eat food and have a great time. So it was really good.
It brings back that whole thing around, you know, I have every other Monday off through work, and I often just wander in, just have a coffee with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have a quick chat.
Yeah.
It's back to that. Like, I almost feel more comfortable doing that than going and seeing my own family sometimes, which that's again something maybe I shouldn't say on camera, but at the end of the day, how people treat you and how you feel around people is really key. And I do, every member, it's the same. I feel like connected to them because of this. So I think that's a really good place to be.
Yeah. So you are part of what we call the 6 a.m. crew.
Yep.
And those hard workers that come in at 6 a.m. in the morning, which means I have to get up at 5:05 in the morning. God darn you. Yeah. No, I do enjoy it. I do. And would you agree that, because obviously you come in on a Saturday as well, and you're often sometimes in different times, things like that, how do you feel that the classes are that early benefit?
So for me, there's lots of reasons why it's a benefit. Again, very personal. So my lifestyle with the children, with lupus, with work, means that I don't get much time to myself. And when I do have time, say in the evenings, I don't necessarily feel like jumping up and doing 50 burpees. And I want to spend some time with my wife in the evening once the kids have gone to bed, which is getting gradually later and later. So we're getting very small windows of opportunity. So when I saw that you had a 6 a.m. class, that was kind of the clincher for me. You know, I committed to that from day one, through the winter, getting up early, and it's become a discipline. So
I'm right in saying that actually before you signed up, and when you knew that we were opening, that you pre-trained yourself to get up earlier.
Yeah.
Just so you could come to the 6.
Yeah. So I started
amazing.
setting the alarm, getting used to it, and it's consistency. That's what it's about. So now I wake up way before my alarm. I'm up and ready, had a coffee. I'm almost enjoying the 30-40 minutes that I have before I have to leave to come here, and that's a bit of me time, a bit of space for my
100%.
mental health, which is absolutely the biggest benefit for me, because when I've finished the gym and I've gone home, had the workout, I bounce in the house, and the girls appreciate it. And I'm not even kidding when I say it. I wouldn't necessarily say it saved my marriage, but me and my wife have talked about how when I'm not exercising and I haven't got that release, that I'm not always great to be around.
100%.
And I think 100%. A lot of people are like that. So she pushes me out the door to go to the gym, which is great for me because I get to come and do this, which is a real kind of hobby.
Do you
for
find
me
that encouragement within that is also, there's obviously a level of that, isn't there? And I often say that, because I'm very lucky. Obviously, Alex is a coach here. She co-owns the place. She does as much with the running of this, with everything that that's gone on through her life, than that I have. And yet, we still encourage each other. There will be times where I don't want to train. I am at the end of my candle, wick, whatever you want to call it, and I'm like, I just don't want to. And she'll say, "You need to train because you're a miserable git. Now, get out and go and do whatever workout you've set out for everybody else. Do it, jump in with a class." And that's often the thing. So as a coach, from my perspective, sometimes what happens is that I've programmed something and I go, that's great, but I don't want to do that. And because I have that knowledge base, I go, I'll just make myself another workout. And I do it on my own. And although I enjoy the workout, it's not the same as jumping in on a class. You jump in with a class and you get the feel, and even as a coach, when you're in there, even if you've jumped in, no one asks you anything because they understand you're in the class. I think that's great, and I don't know many other kind of places that you could do that. You couldn't as a coach go. I often say to the class, it was all right if I jump in, and everyone's like, yeah, come on, jump in, let's see you get beat up as well.
So on that basis, a bit of a question back to you. How do you coach a class and also attend a class, and how do you find that? Do you have to be with a certain group within the class to know that they... Because obviously you're always got eyes on, and that must be really difficult.
So it's very difficult to jump in, let's say, for instance, in a barbell class, especially if the movement is relatively technical. Because deadlift class, not so much. Once you've done the technique enough and been around the class enough, and I would always position myself, if I was training with the class, in a position where I could see everybody. Not necessarily, I would train, but I would not be full tilt. Because you can't. Blinkers on, narrow, you'd be in it. I think that's happened maybe twice where I've really gone for it, but I've jumped in a class knowing that there's another coach in the room.
And that's the key bit, isn't it?
Exactly that. It's quite rare for me to jump in a class, let's say, for instance, if there was any more than 4 or 5. Let's say we had 4 in a class, and I knew that all the other people were all relatively competent in what they were doing. I know they're not going to hurt themselves, because obviously that's one of those major things. And I would ask the class if it was okay. And if one of them said, I don't know if I'm ready to do this on my own, I would be absolutely fine with that, and then go from there. I think that's a really good question, actually. And you'll hear me say that all the time, right? When we do the whiteboard brief, any questions? No hands go up, and then we go, right, okay, and then someone goes, question.
We are all about the 6 a.m. crew questions.
Absolutely, before I've done the brief, usually. I say what the workout is, and then someone goes, hang on, I'll cover that. Don't worry.
And that's an interesting point as well. So back to the fact that I like to analyse everything. I'll come into a room and I'll look at how you've laid things out, and sometimes I'll question it and go, could we do it this way? Could we do it that? And there's never any kind of, you're always open to feedback, which I think is quite good, because, again, it's a 6 a.m. crew. You've had to get up early. You've come in. You're trying to set it up. And we all just want to help.
Of course.
And I think that's really good that as a coach, you're able to accept feedback, constructive feedback, and not go, look who's running the class kind of thing, back
but
off
that
kind of
feeds into
thing.
community, right?
Yeah.
So if you were just a coach that said, right, this is how we're going to do it, this is where we're going to go, and this is what you're going to do, and I was really harsh with you all of the time, you say like, no, the kit goes here and the kit goes there, you'd all be kind of have that almost standoffish relationship. Whereas often I've looked around the room and I've looked at it, I've gone, right then guys, logistics, where do you want to be?
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to do? There are some things we need to consider. Do we go through the rig to go out the door, or can we run across each other? And sometimes you listen and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And you know, there is those things, but sometimes you've done it, and I know that other members have done it, where they've gone, well, actually, can we do it like this? And it's worked out better because you have a different perspective.
And that's the benefit of the 6 a.m. crew, because then you can put it on to the rest.
100%, and that feeds on. You'd be surprised actually how much that happens.
Yeah.
And even later on in the day as well. Sometimes it gets to the 5:30 class, you know, those sort of later on classes, and someone will come in and immediately say, oh, why have you done it like this? You could have done it like that. And I've gone, oh yeah, yeah, I'll change that now. And I've done it. Or I've written extra bits on the board, or I've rubbed bits off as well, where I've found that they've either worked. And I think sometimes, even as a coach, even within a day's coaching, you have to be a certain amount of flexibility in there to cope with everybody in the room, because scalability. Now, we'll talk about scalability, because I think that anybody who watches this and hears the word scaling goes, oh, well, you know, what's that? Because if you don't know what scaling is, it seems obvious, but it's not really. Now, I know that you have had a knee injury for a while that we've been nursing.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you've been lifting your foot off the pedal at all, because you have been using the air bike a lot. So instead of running, you have become firm partners with the assault bike.
It's my favourite bit of equipment.
If anybody
now.
watching this doesn't know what an assault bike is, hit that YouTube and have a go at air assault, and then you'll certainly find out what that is. So scalability, do you find that that's... I would say scalability is a test of knowledge of the coach in the room.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. And I think, again, going back from a kind of personal view, scaling, it can be frustrating, because you end up looking at the workout, particularly when we first started it, and I'd look and go, I really want to do that, but now I know my body and I know I can't do it, so I need to scale. And it used to become quite frustrating, or you feel like you're doing a lesser workout than someone else, and that's not the case at all. You're still putting full 100% in effort, and I think that's something that when people do hear scale, and you hear the way they say it, they'll say, but I scaled, and they use that term, but I scaled, and say, well, wait a minute, you've done the same amount of minutes, hours, whatever, to work out at the top of what you could do. So for me, that's an achievement, and it should be celebrated and not seen as a negative.
100%. And I think as well, when we talk about transferability, we talk about all the different movements we have, it's probably the easiest one to pull up. Now, musculature wise, men are designed to be able to have upper body, the broader shoulders, bigger arms, so pull-ups aren't necessarily out of the ability of most men. Now, for ladies, it's a totally different story. Musculature is completely different, and unless they did swimming from a really young age where they've got a broad shoulders and strong back, pull-ups are often that mystical unicorn of a movement that they don't get. Now, with lots of places, obviously in regular gyms, you'll have an assisted or something that has a cable or a seat or something like that lifts you up. Now, we don't have any of that. We have bands, we have boxes, we have ourselves, we have lowered bars, things like that. And more importantly, ring rows. Now, we did a workout last Sunday that involved max reps ring rows, and everybody turned their nose up at it when they first came in. Everyone was like, ring rows. Yeah, I can do ring rows, they're really easy. Oh, really? Let's find out about that. So, and that's why I did it. So because part of the programming for me, and I'm thinking about everybody in the room, sometimes I want to program something that everybody that can do. So if we're looking at the scale, there's a very rare opportunity, or very rare opportunity that everybody in the room should be able to do that movement. Either they can do it standing or off a box, but most people can pull themselves to standing on a ring row. You can make it harder. You change the angle, you move the feet in, lengthen the handle rope, that sort of thing, and make it really, really difficult. And that is a wonderful example of how to scale.
Yeah.
But even the most competent technical person in the room will absolutely have the workout of their life, because it's and I think that's key. That's key. And I know that when I have scaled for you, or when Alex has scaled, or even Ellie has scaled for you, or for anybody else in the community, and they've gone, right, they have that in mind. They go, here is what we're going to give you. And like you say, sometimes it's really hard because you go, oh, I've got to scale.
Yeah.
But like I've said, and I say this many times in the class, if I took the RX off the board, moved it down to base, and scrubbed everything else and said, we're all doing that workout, you'd all go, that's an amazing workout, that's great, I'm going to RX the bajunkas out of that and go for it. And that's exactly what I think is sometimes required. But like we say, we have to put that RX up there because we want to push people's abilities.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's really key. So I reckon on average I'll RX once a week, or maybe once every 2 weeks. Otherwise I'm intermediate or base.
Do you mean like technically?
Yeah,
so looking at the technical side of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
And even sometimes with the weight side of it. But ultimately that can take it out of me. So realistically, again, there's no point breaking yourself over one workout in order to then sit and be in pain for 3-4 days before you can do your next workout. So
absolutely.
There's a real benefit for going, actually, I'm working on this day in, day out. So I'm
did
moving.
that take time to learn that?
Yes.
Truthfully, did that take time to learn that?
100%, because you come in, and I touched on earlier, you leave the ego at the door, but you still got an ego to do your best, and you still look at the board and go, I want to be able to do that, I want to be able to do that. So being able to come in and be comfortable about saying, do you know, today it's all about the base, it's great, keep and move, and it's almost an active recovery day for me because I've done it for 6 days in a row now. I cannot just keep going because my body's not going to thank me.
And I suppose that ties in with your lupus as well. If you're having that flare up, you're having that point where it's uncomfortable, you're not missing out, because you need that community interaction. You need that, obviously, for the family side of things. You want to make sure you've trained so you can give your family the best. And I think that work ties in very well. But you kind of go, well, I'm still here, I'm still doing it, I'm maintaining.
Yeah.
But actually, you'll probably find that you would have worked on a skill that you haven't practiced in a while, and you've gone back to the drawing board on that and gone, actually, maybe I could get better at that before I go back to doing that. And again, pull-ups would be a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
I know that you've got kipping pull-ups, and they're really tidy. They're really good. And I know that sometimes you look at that, and sometimes I've watched you and you get out of sync and you get all angry with yourself, and you're kind of like, well, this is the time, Rob, where you want to maybe think about scaling that and going back to it. And admittedly, you do that very well. You're very good, and lots of people are. And I think our approach to coaching helps us, because we care, we want the best from you. So that makes us go, right, well, how can we make you better? And by making you better, actually, sometimes we've got to grab hold of you, pull you back 3 steps and go, do it from here, and then go back there and see where it goes.
And that's where you do it really well. So you could easily be offended by that. You could easily
100%.
Come into a gym and get told, no, we think you should go on a lower box, or we think you should pick up a lower weight. And people take that and they'll be upset or disappointed with themselves, or frustrated with the coach or whatever. It's never done in a way where I feel like I'm being told off, or I'm being
disrespectful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it you're always right, because you get to see it from the side, whereas I'm in the workout, and normally I find when I've just about realised that something's too heavy or the box is too high, you're standing next to me with a weight that's less or a smaller box, and I'm like, it becomes obvious. And I think that's the thing. Maybe at the start I weren't doing that, and I'd just push through, and my workout would suffer. Now I'm able to adapt and be aware of my own body quicker because of your coaching. So then I, like, back to your point, that if I'm starting to struggle and I look over, you're already walking towards me with what I need, because we're both on sync, and I think that's really good. So with regards to, you touched on skill work, and I think skill work's really important, and we've started doing it in the classes a little bit more, which I think's brilliant, because we've had more time after a workout to do that. What's your favourite?
So actually, it's a skill that I don't fully possess myself. That's a ring muscle up. A ring muscle up is the unicorn. It is, yeah. I could do one, but I can't link them together.
Yeah.
And that, as a coach, is really frustrating me inside, because I feel, and often I find as coaches, you'll find there's certain movements you can get, but you want to be better at them so you can coach them more productively.
Yeah.
So you can pick those apart, and that's good because it forces me to do them more often, even though I don't want to, because I'm exactly the same as everybody else. I look at things and I go, technically I only want to do the things I'm really good at, so I can feel good about myself when I drop down from the bar or whenever I put that weight down. And then there'll be things I really suck at, and as a coach I go, I need to do that more. And that's why so we'll touch a little bit on CrossFit. And I know that you are like me. CrossFit is, plays a huge part in just the methodology and, the CrossFit Games, which is almost upon us.
Can't wait.
Exactly. We like to sit and, as much as we like to train, we like to sit and watch other people do fitness, right? Yeah, lift big weights, look at those people and go, I've done that. That's not that hard.
Is it concerning that in our calendar, Lindsay and the family are looking at it and going, that's when our holiday starts, and I'm looking at it and saying, that's when CrossFit Games start?
might be, mate. yeah. There is. But I think that's the thing. But I suppose, fortunately, because your family are involved in it, they will understand it. And I pretty much guarantee that if you're sat there watching it, on holiday, I pretty much guarantee you're going to have other people around you kind of looking over your shoulder. Maybe not on purpose, but they're probably going to ask you and say, actually, what's going on?
Yeah.
So touching on CrossFit, we'll go back to sort of like the programming side of things, and I think this will tie in very well, and then we'll bring this to sort of like the end of what we're doing. CrossFit have done a fantastic job of providing us with affiliate programming, and when we first started out, programming was possibly the most time consuming thing that we did. Apart from sort of like the cleaning, the setup and everything else like that. The coaching side of it wasn't really too much of a worry, but the programming was, because we didn't know the community. And as times built on, CAP became something that didn't quite fit the community. But it gave us the confidence to be able to look at the community and go, this is what they need. And this is the equipment that we have. And actually we could probably build our own workouts and study those workouts and get the focus and the stimulus exactly how we want it, that fits the team and the community. And I just wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit from your perspective, because obviously you are our first member. You were in our first class, and obviously you did the class this morning. So how do you see how the classes have progressed from when we first opened to now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there has been a very clear progression focused more on the community. I think with the workouts that the affiliation would give you, some of them were potentially either the equipment weren't available, or it was a level where maybe we just weren't there yet. So, and that's the great thing about this whole box, is that the range of standard is so great. You've got people, and I won't name names, but this morning going above what the RX is versus people who are not necessarily using the weights. But there's no criticism. There's no looking across to each other and saying, well, why are you doing that? But I think what you've been able to do is almost bring that to, with the equipment that you've got, into like a challenging workout, and they are challenging. And I think that's the key bit there. So some of the workouts before were just not necessarily unachievable, but they didn't flow as well together. What you've got now is something that you can challenge yourself whatever level you're at, and I think that works really well. And I think you guys recognise that, and that's why it's good when you can go heavier, or you can work harder on that. They're
gentle encouragement.
Yeah, a bit of gentle encouragement in a positive way. Back to the opposite of you need to scale down. Sometimes there is I think you can pick up heavier, and that's really good as well. And that ties in with those workouts. I think it's definitely, for me, I love the variety, and I think that's what I love about CrossFit in general. Is don't get me wrong, if you wanted to go to a PT and they program you the workouts, you're going to end up repeating the same workout over and over again, focusing on the isolated muscles and things like that. And I get that, but it's back to that functional fitness. You know, I've got 2 kids. I just want to keep up with them.
100%.
It's really important,
100%.
and this gives me that opportunity to. So yeah, I think programming wise is spot on. But yeah,
brilliant. Well, thanks for coming in, and thanks for being our inaugural podcast. I suppose not customer, not member, but yeah, our first person to have a conversation with. I have to thank you very much. So you've gone from being our first member to our first podcast person, and thanks very much.
Before we break, got one quick question.
Go on.
Froning or Fraser?
Oh, dude. For me, it would be Froning, because his heart is in his community, and same for us. Yeah, he's although he's a very he has his faith and his fitness and family. So I would say that we would very much so fitness and family. So yeah, absolutely.
And he's
good
also
question.
got an amazing bed. So
yeah, he has. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, nice. Thanks, buddy. Brilliant.
Nice one.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. No worries.
Cheers.